Well, I didn't know I was meeting him. Of course, none of us did. He had written a postcard, and as had often happened before, the postcard arrived after the person. So it arrived the day after Abhishek arrived. He came out, he was coming up to the hills, and he got off the train at Bareilly station, a junction, which was 4 miles away from where we were. And I think he walked out. I don't know if he had a rickshaw. I think he walked out and carrying his stuff, you know, his rucksack and his cardy stuff, looking a simple, you would think a crazed man, really. He looked incredible. And he thought he would just find us, because he would find us because we would be having lanterns. He felt that we'd be having a compline or something like it, prayers for the end of the day. And when he got out into where we lived, which was in a wood, he didn't find us at all. He wandered around for a good long time and didn't find any sound or anything of the sunset. And everything got dark, and he was just sort of packing up when he saw lights gathering and a gong. And he followed the lights and the gong to our chapel. Chapel's hanging, a picture of it hanging on the wall outside, and decided that must be who he was after. And he came and stood at the chapel door, which we always had a door only to hear, because we couldn't stand the way churches in India always were locked up. And of course temples always open. And followed the lights, and at the end of the service we all turned round towards this door, the door that was half a door to keep the dogs out, and as we turned round and gave the peace to the next person with us, you see, and then to Heather, who's here now, who gave the peace to the village friends who were there in our spirits, but weren't there physically. We looked out of the door, and there was this extraordinary figure. We'd heard of Swami Abhishiktananda once or twice before, but hadn't registered really. But there he was, and we said hello and welcome, and what he was going to do for the night. So he was going to stay with us. Well, we assured him, and so he said yes. And after the event, of course, we discovered it was entirely new to him. A priest who is married, absolutely out of his mind, never thought of such a thing really seriously. And of course, having his wife there, dressed in a sari, paddling around with those shoes and everything like that, as you know well enough. We were living on the ground. You see, by that time we'd lived at Sevagram, Gandhiji's headquarters, for 15 years, last 15 years of his life. And so we had learned really to live without any furniture, with a mat, with a string bed, charpai, and that's what we gave Swamiji. I've often wondered what changed Swamiji from an old traditional Breton, French, Roman Catholic, very traditional. he must have been awful in the monastery sometimes, because he was ticking people off, you know, when they wouldn't be quite as they should have been as monks. He was very much very traditional indeed.
What was the role that Father le Saux played?
Well, now that was very different, you see. Father Monchanin wanted strictly to found a Christian ashram, and his whole life was centered on that. But at a very early stage, Father le Saux went to the ashram of Ramana Maharshi in Tiruvannamalai. It's in the center of Tamil Nadu, about 200 miles away. And there he met this Ramana Maharshi, who was one of the great seers of modern India, a really holy man, there's no doubt. And this had an overwhelming impression on him, because Ramana Maharshi was what's called an Advaitin. They believe in non-duality, the relation between God and the soul. They're not one simply, but they're not two. It's an experience of oneness with God, you see. And Abhishiktananda, he lived in a cave on the hill there for some time, had this overwhelming experience of total oneness. And all his life, in a sense, he was trying to reconcile it with the Christian Trinity, incarnation, redemption, and he was always faithful to the Mass in his Christian life, but he always felt that this revelation he'd received really was so fundamental that he couldn't give up one or the other. And so to the end of his life, they came nearer and nearer, but I don't think he ever really resolved it. There was always a certain tension in his life, and maybe God wanted that of him, because he went deeper into the Hindu tradition than I think any other modern missionary in India, has gone.
Arms around my neck, show me how you do it, and I promise that